Are you rethinking your purpose in life? Being centered in a strong spiritual connection is more important now than ever. Hi, I'm Bryn Blankinship, hypnotherapist, international instructor, and author. Each episode, along with Dr. Pat, I'll share my experiences with guiding spiritual regression clients into the afterlife and the soul lessons gained, prompting you to explore your own soul's journey and empowering you by shifting your perception of yourself and your place in this world. I want you to know that you're here by design, not by accident. You are not alone. You are loved. You are here on purpose, for a purpose. When you stand in your truth and fulfill your purpose, you support others in fulfilling theirs. If this intrigues you, stay tuned in as we explore.
Hey everyone, welcome. I'm Dr. Pat. I want to welcome you to a fabulous, fabulous episode here. Joining me, her show is fabulous. It is Afterlife Teacher with Bryn Blankinship. This is Soul Lessons bringing you full circle. Now, today, how do you co-create with your soul? I mean, do you even know that that's a possibility? Or do you think that you are really lined in and stuck into a destiny which you have no management over? Today, we're going to look at what is soul-minded approach. This is an excerpt from Bryn's fabulous book. And when you think about the limitless soul, you have to really think about, is that for everyone? Or are you in this mindset where, no, that's just for that person sitting up there on that big fat mountain, just sitting up there meditating? Today, we're going to change your perspective. Bryn, it's great to have you here. I mean, this is one part of the many things you do. You know, for example, in the last show, we talked about what you've done with Cesar, and we talk about how you train people. Now we're getting into the details of what all this is prompted from. And as you've mentioned in multiple books, right, you're thinking about this soul-minded approach for co-creating, because it's also something amazing that you do. So tell people what this is, because I'm not sure we all get that we can navigate this, or that we're just kind of stuck with the deck we've been given, okay? The hand we've been given.
So your soul sat at the table, so to speak, with your spiritual team and the higher levels of your spiritual team as well, and had a goal for your incarnation. So we are spiritual beings in a human body. We're already spiritual. So we don't have to go meditate on the mountain, but it helps if you can do that, because you can make that connection. But the soul-minded approach is helping you get that lined up. So you're co-creating with soul, and you're embracing who you truly are, because you are a spiritual being in this human body, and it's a partnership between your mental, your mind, your physical, your body, and your spiritual, your soul, all coming together to be the being, the human being that you are, having this experience. So as you're embracing who you are, you can tune in and consciously be aware of that guidance. And it takes practice. So some people are better at this than others, right? Some people are born that way. That's what they came in to experience and to be part of. And then others have an awakening, so to speak, to this other side of themselves that occurs at some point in their lives. So as spiritual beings, we are living in a time where we are meant to live multiple lifetimes in one. So what that means is energy is shifting. A lot of things are happening on the planet at this time, the last many years leading up to this time, leading into the future. And we are able to have these, if you look back over your life, I'll bet you can see, like, it seems like a different life 20 years ago. Like I felt like a whole different person, right?
No kidding.
So you're bringing in those skills to and then you move into the next level, but you don't have to die, reincarnate, learn how to read and write and walk and talk. Like we already know how to do that, so we have an up-levelment to the next level. And sometimes that happens through meditation and different things that happen along the way. Sometimes it happens with a near-death experience, which is that's more like a big wake-up call. That's going to be a big shift, right?
Yeah, it's very interesting. I was talking with someone the other day, and they saw my background. and they saw the color of my hair. So they asked me 3 questions, totally not related to the call. Why you dye your hair blonde? Okay, that was question number 1. Number 2, are you Buddhist? Are you Hindu? Are you Native American? Because they looked at my background, and I looked at them, and then the one person says, are you Chinese? And I said, what, how do you come to that? They said, I'm looking at your background. And I said, the background in the Zoom. And I said, I don't have any great answers for you on how I got to be who I am today. But I will tell you that the journey was spiritual and soul-filled. That's the only answer I could give, because I never thought about myself of, are you Native? Are you this? And by the way, my family was Native in Brazil, but that's not how I got to really appreciate the things that I bring into my spiritual pathway. You see, you can explain it. So let's have you explain it to how we can consciously communicate with the guides, because I really do think that who I am today really came from them and being able to listen.
Exactly. And you may have been those things in a past life, which is why you're drawn to those influences now. Like,
I
I've
definitely
discovered
was
a lot.
blonde. Yeah, I definitely must have been blonde. I can really tell you that, because I don't have a good explanation for that.
Yeah. Well, I can remember being in the 5th grade in social studies class and being so fascinated with all the different religions around the world and the cultures and how they lived, and the National Geographic, because, we didn't have the internet. So I would just sit for hours, look through the encyclopedia, National Geographic, those were my favorite things. But now I've been to some of those places, and I've had sessions. So I understand some of those influences, right? And I'm Native American partially, but I didn't know that growing up. It just wasn't, we didn't talk about it. And my grandmother is Native American. She had passed. So I didn't know until much later that I had that blood. So let's talk. All right. So your spiritual team has meetings before you incarnate, right? So I always imagine them sitting around a table having like a conference meeting. Your soul is part of that discussion. And then your guides are there. So your guides and your higher level, your soul advisory council, and even the high councils. So they are there as part of the planning, but your guides help you with more of the day-to-day. So when you're approaching your meditations or, asking for guidance, you can get specific. You can ask to communicate directly with your soul. Some people like to start with their guides, or even like an archangel or a master teacher. And that's one way to do it. The master teachers work with groups of people at a time, like Jesus and Buddha, they work with many, many souls at one time, where your guides are more working with you one-on-one. And so they help guide you along the way. So you can set that intention before you start your meditation so that you can get a clear communication. And then as you practice this, you can ask, who am I speaking with? Right? Who am I talking with? So that you can get just a clear communication. Because there's a belief that some people believe that there's like bliss. You just die and you're in a state of nothingness. But there's so much between that and where we're at before you ever get to the bliss. And so there's a lot of structure, there's a lot of organization that's happening in the spiritual realm to help you. And you are helping them when you tune in and listen, right? But we also have free will. We have the ability to ignore the guidance that we're being given. And then, the guidance is, no, take a right here. You need to take this exit. And it's like, no, I'm not doing that. My GPS says to go this way, and you ignore it. And then you go down the road and there's an accident and you're sitting in traffic that you would have avoided if you had not done that. But that it happened. And then everything's going to reroute and move things along the way. And then you learn from that. Because maybe next time you learn to listen, right? Or you learn to trust more. It's about trusting, because if you don't trust, then you're not fully in it. You're not embracing who you are. If you trust the guidance that's coming,
Yeah.
You learn to discern it and trust that that there is a bigger plan for you. Then you can save yourself a lot of stress. A
Yeah.
lot.
I think what you're talking about, one of the things I discovered 22 years ago when this was all new to me is I discovered there's a measurement of faith. And so when we talk about faith/trust, I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about what is the strength of your conviction? So when I started to do my workshops, I used to measure this. I used to ask people on a scale of 1 to 10 different questions. And when everybody raised their hand and said, yes, I trust, I have faith, then when they drill down and answer the questions, it really wasn't true. They had faith, but did they have mustard seed faith? Did they have faith that fulfilled and totally monopoly? It was a monopoly in your brain where you had so much faith that no other fear or doubt can come in. And can you talk to that? Because if you trust the messages your soul is given, and I just went through this, I had a big old conversation. So yes, I do picture them around a table, but smoking cigars, men and women, and playing pinochle. That's what I figured they were doing when they picked
It
me.
might be.
But from where you sit,
Mhm.
if you don't have trust, it's so painful.
Well, it's about trusting yourself, right? When someone betrays you and it shatters your trust, then you start to doubt yourself and not have trust. So having trust in yourself and learning to trust the guidance you have, that's like your superpower. So I used to have things happen to me and people would say, oh, you're so lucky. And then I'm like, well, I did work hard to make that happen. And then other things would happen, like you win something and that's a lucky moment. So then I started working with manifesting and the law of attraction and how can I make this happen on purpose? And so, you want to um, frame things in a positive light, right? So instead of saying, oh, I have so much debt, you could say, how would I rephrase?
Let me fill you in the blank for you.
Yes.
My mantra is, I have so much abundance that I now lend instead of borrow.
Yes.
That's a mantra for me. I don't go into crazy detail. It's just a simple thing. I have so much prosperity and abundance that I now lend to others and I do not borrow.
Yes.
Now that works for my brain. I wish I could tell you I made that
And
up,
this,
but I
this
can't.
framing that in a positive light, instead of saying I have so much debt, you're framing it to say, how can I be debt free? And then beyond being debt free, I have so much that I can help others with my abundance, right? That's the reframe. And then your world will catch up to that.
Thank
So,
you.
what I was thinking about a moment ago is I was on a call with someone and we were talking about money and stuff. And I said, well, I always have money coming to me just at the moment I need it. And I hung up the phone, an email came through and it said I had some cash back on a credit card. So I was like, oh, that's great. So I went and looked, how much cash did I get back? Well, I got 69 cents back, but it was in the right direction, right? So it's like I took that as a win and as a positive, and then other things have happened since that phone call. So if you do a negative, you're always going to create more negative, and if you do a positive, you can move past that. It works for like weight, relationships. Oh, I can never find the right person. How about reframe it to I now find the right people or the right person? I surround myself with supportive and happy people, right? Because that makes me happier to be around people that are happy, and we can support each other through that.
I love it. And see, this is what we're talking about because we want to hear our soul's reaction and responses to our questions as well. We're now moving into talking about being open to a level of spirituality, but even more importantly, how do we do it every day? And one of the things I love about what you said was you plant the seed. See, you must look. What did you call it? 76 cents? I don't know what you said.
69 cents.
69 cents. You understand, first of all, 69 is a very powerful spiritual number. The second thing is that that was a sign. See, if we are not aware and we're not paying attention to the signs, right?
Mhm.
We just trudge along the road of unhappy destiny.
Because it feels random.
It,
And when you can tune in this way and you can set your intentions, then you're partnering with your guides. So you have to trust the process, and then you're partnering with your guides or with your soul. I go right to the source. I go right to soul, and I say, look, help me with this. Like, help me to know, whatever I'm working on, whatever project. I have a lot of projects happening right now. Help me with the answers to this. Help me to know what I need to do. Help the right people come forward. And then trusting that process and recognizing when they do. And then sometimes you get little signs along the way. Like, and this takes practice, y'all. And you can do it with your eyes open. You can do it with your eyes closed in a meditation. Sometimes I just get in my car and go for a drive and ask the question. Sometimes I go walk outside in the garden and get some fresh air. And while I'm walking the dog, I'm asking the question, and then you let it go without judgment, and then you let it come back. The sign will come in, but some things take longer than others. So sometimes it's instantaneous. And then other times it might take, a couple of weeks before that thing shows up that you needed, but everyone else is getting their stuff lined up to work with you once you've, put the request out there. And where do you think this idea is even coming from to ask the question? Guides say all the time, we put that thought in your head.
yeah.
Oh, I think I'm going to go take Bryn's training. Oh, I'm going to have, go have a session. Literally in session, guides have said, where do you think that thought came from? You needed this right now, right? And then, it could be for anything though. If anything that you're working with, you can co-create along with your soul, that spiritual guidance that's available to you to make it happen.
Thank you for this. I want to talk about this because I want people to know that it doesn't have to be a major thing. I'm not saying it can't. Of course, you want to get in there and say, I will lend and not borrow. I will give back, whatever your mantra is. But also, there are other solutions. For example, I was trying to explain something to someone this morning, and I didn't have the right words. And I was trying to explain how I pick imagery that I pick for websites. I was on a call with one of the clients, and she ended up saying to me, that's why I wanted you to design the website. I could have never designed this like this. And she said, I think I know the answer. I was going to ask you how you do it, but I think I know. You just tap into your soul and you intuitively do it. And see, I was trying to explain that today to somebody else. Sometimes we have to get out of our head and trust that when we click on an image for an opener or we click on something, we're going to be divinely guided. And it's not just about this. It's about every area of our lives. We can do this in all places, can't we?
Yes. And you're doing it already. A lot of times you're already doing it. So then you can consciously do it and, save yourself some trouble or make things happen more quickly, So if you find yourself getting in a negative place, one of the first things to do is to learn to reframe those negatives. It's not that you don't feel those bad emotions, those heavy emotions. Just let it move through and breathe it out and then move on to something more positive. Don't do the spiritual bypass where you pretend it's not happening.
Yeah.
You move through it by moving through it, and then you turn it into a positive. Yes, that thing happened, but what did I learn from it, and how can I move forward?
All right. Now, what guidance tool can you give us
Yes.
to help us today? But before you do that, I want to know all of the things you got going on. What do you want to tell people? Are there things they can register for, upcoming courses? Share a little bit of the things that you're doing, if you don't mind, and your website.
Okay. So we are working on the course dates, and then we'll open that up on the website for the next hypnosis and past life regression training. We have Sessor training coming up for my advanced students. I have some other projects. I have a couple of documentaries happening as well. So when they are finalized, it takes time, but when they're finalized, I'll let everybody know. And if you go to Bryn Blankinship author on Facebook or Instagram, Bryn Blankinship author, you can follow me there, and that's the most up to date, as well as the website. You can join the newsletter through my website, brynblankinship.com. And when the next something is coming out, we'll be sending out a newsletter as well. We don't do
Okay.
the newsletters unless we have something to say, right?
Awesome.
We do more frequently on Facebook and Instagram.
Perfect. And for those of you out there, the tricky part about that is Bryn is spelled with a Y, Bryn. All right.
And Blankinship with an I in.
Oh, good point.
Yes.
Okay. I want to do this and I want to do it now.
Okay.
Help me.
So one thing you can do is, we're talking about shifting your perception, right? Turning fear into fuel to be a positive, because we said fear means you're not trusting. So you've forgotten that you're this magnificent spiritual being. And also, you can lighten up and move through things more quickly. You just let things go so you're not holding on. The other thing you can do is laugh more. Laugh. Laughing lightens your energetic body. It puts you in touch with higher realms. The Dalai Lama, what does he tell you to do? Laugh and have fun, right? He's one of the most spiritual human beings there are. He's really in touch with his spirituality, I would say. And it's all about lightening up. So, like I said, stepping out in nature, all of that opens you up to the heartbeat of the earth. It's opening your heart center, and walking barefoot calms your nervous system. It helps settle your energy. So I want to talk about, I have a little exercise here, and well, let me also say my book, The Limitless Soul, is a series of case studies of my clients, but it's also a series of exercises. So by the time you've made your way through the book, it's a repatterning and helping you to move through some different things that you've been working with to be more connected with your guides. So there's that as well. But we have a little exercise that we want to do with you here today. Okay, so if you're listening and you're driving or operating heavy equipment or anything like that, I want you to do this later. But if you want to follow along right now, just make sure you're in a safe place where you can follow this exercise. And you can take 5 minutes a day to connect with your soul. You can do it throughout the day, and then you're reinforcing that. So just find a quiet moment, whether you're having your morning coffee, you're taking a walk, or even before bed, and you can connect with your soul. And then journal the responses that come through. Journal and notice that you are getting some responses, and then you'll start to recognize more and more responses. And, sometimes responses are auditory, sometimes they're signs, they're sensations that come through. Recognize that as well in your life. So this is an alignment with your soul's wisdom, and you're going to start by putting your hand on your heart and bringing your attention to your breathing. And as you do that, just let yourself relax. You can observe your thoughts, calm that mind chatter. You can send others' energy back to them, reclaim your energy from others. And as you're starting to calm, let your mind reveal to you 3 things that you're grateful for, because gratitude is putting you in that higher vibration. So just let your mind reveal 3 things that you're grateful for. And then you can imagine a brilliant white light pouring in from above, enveloping you like a loving embrace that's evoking a profound sense of reassurance, connection. It's inviting a sense of openness and clarity. as this radiant light is illuminating the path ahead. Just feel that opening, supportive energy. You can ask your soul or your guides, what truth is ready to reveal itself now? How can I align more fully with my purpose? Show me the way forward. And let the answers come naturally through sensations and thoughts or emotions, receiving just what you're meant to in this moment, with a deep and profound knowing deep within that creates an effortless flow, allowing life to unfold in sync with your highest path. And so it is.
Oh, wow. I want to make a point. Sometimes you will get a message that you don't think makes sense. I got the message. I asked all the 3 questions. I put in line everything I was grateful for. It came to me really easily. But when I asked the question, I didn't get do more with the network. I didn't get any of that. I got finish what you started with the board game. Hello. Like none of what I thought. I wasn't thinking about the game, but the game is just one step of our future in that arena. But I find that fascinating. And I want people to know that you have to hear what the message is, even if it's not what you think it is.
That's the point, right? Because you're getting that guidance and it's going to redirect you just enough to keep you on
Yeah.
track. And that exercise that we just did, you know, I purposely didn't say close your eyes, because you can do that when you're awake.
Yeah.
When your eyes are wide awake.
Yeah.
You can also close your eyes and do it as well. But it's
Yeah.
an active listening, it's an active
Yeah.
co-creation with your soul, and then being aware of the guidance that comes through in various ways. It's not always visual, it's not always immediate, but sometimes you get little pieces and then you get little more, and then just a bit down the road, you'll realize you've been rerouted all along into exactly where you need to be.
I get it. I want to thank you for this today, because you know more about me than the audience does right now, having done a fabulous session with you. But this is the message for all you out there. What did Tina Turner say? We can do it hard, or we can do it soft. And you get to figure out what she meant. So for the world and the transformations and transitions, we'll always have obstacles that show up that are just challenges to help us get to the place where we're meant to go. But faith is that bridge. Thank you, Bryn, so much for everything today. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stefan, and thank you to all of you out there. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to Afterlife Teacher, Soul Lessons bringing you full circle with Bryn Blankinship and Dr. Pat. Tune into Transformation Talk Radio for more discussions of the soul's journey across different lifetimes and soul lessons gained, helping you to consider the deeper reason you are here. Bryn shares her wisdom spanning 20 years of guiding spiritual regression clients into the afterlife and connecting them with their spiritual team and soul's purpose to bring them full circle, helping you gain insight into your own soul's purpose while supporting others in fulfilling theirs. Living in partnership with your soul, with less worry and greater trust, you can be in divine flow and thrive. For more information on becoming a certified hypnotherapist and regressionist and assisting with the global transformation taking place, visit brynblankinship.com.